everyone, this is Laura Wilson from Gold Star Work here. Today I'm going to show you how I seal and varnish my paintings. If you're using a normal acrylic paint, you still should varnish your paintings. So the sealer coat is sometimes called an isolation coat before you put the varnish on the top. So the varnish helps to protect the painting from outside pollutants, so your paint stays the colour you made it, doesn't absorb any dust or smoke or things out of the air or fingerprints and the oils from your skin when people are handling the painting. So it protects it, all that, and keeps the colours all clear. And it also means that once it's all varnished and dry, if you need, when you're dusting and you need to just wipe it off with a slightly damp sponge or something, then you can do that no problem with no damage to the picture. And the reason why I like this Atelier varnish is that I can paint over it. So if I've finished a painting and I'm all sealed and varnished, and then I come back a few months later and think, well, actually, I'd like to make a few changes there, I can do that with this varnish and just paint straight over the top with no problem. Some varnishes you can do that and some you can't. So you need to check the labels on the back of your varnish and make sure. And most of the spray varnishes, you wouldn't be able to do that. You can get removable varnishes that you put on, and then if you want to make changes, you can remove the varnish. But I would never bother doing that. I prefer one that I can just paint over. So that's why I use that particular varnish. There will be other brands that you can do that with too. So just do your research and see what brand you like best. I just really like this brand. I'm not affiliated with them at all. It's just a brand that I like to use, and because I use the Atelier interactive paints, I know that the Atelier varnishes will be compatible with the paint that I'm using. So look out for that as well when you're varnishing your pictures. So this is an acrylic painting that I've done, and it's been drying for 2 weeks now, so all those underlayers are all nice and dry. And I can go ahead and seal and varnish. Now because I use Atelier interactive paints, I need to seal this before I varnish, because if I don't seal it, what I've found can happen is, even though it's had 2 weeks to cure and dry, some of these darker areas when you're varnishing can swipe over and smear over into the light areas, or the light areas can smear into the dark areas, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to seal my painting first using the fast medium fixer. And when you look up on the Atelier website, they say you can also use the binder medium to seal, and I have used this in the past. It's a lot thicker consistency than the fast medium fixer, and I found it was quite difficult to get a nice smooth coat when I was using it. So I've switched to the fast medium fixer, which I find a lot more user-friendly. It seems to be a lot easier to use. You can also use this in between layers of painting if you want to fix a layer and make sure it doesn't move before you go into the next layer, so that's good for that as well. And then once my fast medium fixer is all dry, which usually is overnight, it'll be dry sooner than that, but I like to leave it overnight, then I'm going to use the satin varnish for this one. So the way I do it is I just use a brush, and I get an old plate, and I just put some of the fast medium fixer into the plate. As you can see, it's quite a runny mix. It's quite watery. Now usually I would do this with my painting flat, but it's a bit hard to see that on the camera. So I'm just going to do it like this. So you load up your brush and just gently go over the top of your painting. And don't forget to do the sides as well. And I'll do the bottom after I've finished, only because it's on a tilt. So I'll do that off camera when I lie it down flat. And as you can see, it's going kind of drippy because it's not lying flat. And then you just go through, you wipe off your brush in between and just gently smooth it all out and make sure there's no excess. So I'm wiping off any excess. And I can do the bottom there. I'm wiping down any excess on the sides. As I said, normally I'd just sit this flat and do it, but it was a bit hard to set up the camera so you could see what I was doing. And you'll get kind of a milky film on there. That's fine. What you don't want to do is overwork this, because then that milky film will stay on there. So you just do it nice and gently and quickly, and then you leave it to dry. So don't try and resist playing with it. So when you're drying this first coat, it needs to be set down flat. So I've put it flat now. And I'm just going to leave that until tomorrow before I do the next coat. So what I find with the fast medium fixer, if I went ahead and varnished this too soon, I may end up getting a milky film on it. So you do have to be a little bit careful of that. But if you leave it overnight, it should be fine, no problem at all. Now once you have finished your isolation coat or your sealing coat with the fast medium fixer, you want to wash that brush and the bowl out in some just warm water. It doesn't need to be hot, and give it a bit of a scrub and get all the varnish sealer out of your brush. And in between each coat of varnish, you want to wash those really well, because you don't want any varnish left in your brush or your brush will go hard. So it's only been about 10 minutes now since I did the isolation coat. It's pretty cold here today, so it's not a hot day or anything, and you can already see, if I tilt that picture, that all that milkiness has gone. It's not dry yet, but it's no longer got that milky look, so it doesn't take long for you to stop being in a panic and thinking, oh no, I've wrecked my picture. It's always a bit nerve-wracking, I feel, when you're varnishing with a brush. But it's well worth the effort, and I really like the effect that I get with the liquid varnishes, and I prefer to do that rather than spray varnish, although I do use spray varnish sometimes. But this has been left overnight now with its seal coat on, and it's all nice and dry. I'm going to go ahead and varnish this with satin varnish now. So when we shake up the varnish bottle, you don't want to be shaking it vigorously up and down, because you don't want to make lots of air bubbles in it. So I just gently give it a bit of a tip. And I'm going to go ahead and stick that in my little bowl. And it's a lot thicker consistency than the fast medium fixer that we used for sealing the canvas. I'm going to put some on my brush there. Now, when I've finished this painting, I'm going to do my final coat of varnish this way. So my first coat of varnish, I'm going to do this way. So I'm loading up my brush and putting it on, doing the edges. And then I'm just going to go and smooth it out. Any excess I'm going to wipe on the side of my bowl. And like with the fast medium fixer, You don't want to play with it any more than you need to. And that's all I need to do. Just fix up the edges. And when I'm off camera, I'll do the bottom and I'll lie it flat to dry. So now we just have to wait. So this is now dried again overnight, and you can see there's no film or anything on it. It's all nice and clear. The colours are really coming out beautifully. I've got my nice dry clean brush for the last and final coat that I'm doing on this. So this is my second coat on this one. And again, I'm not shaking the bottle vigorously up and down, I'm just gently mixing it. I'm going to put that little bit in my plate again. And last time we went this way with the varnish, so this time I'm going to go this way. So each coat that you do, you will find it gets easier to spread on. The first coat seems to suck up into the canvas quite a lot, that seal coat, and then each coat of varnish after that gets a lot easier. I'm just going to quickly do the sides. And mop up any excess. I'm just going to very gently go over. Just make sure there are no air bubbles. No excess product on there that I don't want. And again, you don't want to overwork it. You do the minimum of brush strokes that you need to. And then that's finished. So quick and easy. Doesn't take long to varnish your pictures to get a beautiful finish. And again, I'll leave that overnight. And I'll lie it flat to dry. And I'd be varnishing it flat normally anyway. I've just done it this way so you can see with the camera. And then I'll be all ready to put the hooks on the back and hang it up. So don't forget to like and hit that subscribe button if you'd like to see more painting tutorials. I do acrylic painting and watercolour painting tutorials on this channel. Just wanted to show you some different options for your varnishing. I use a satin varnish on most of my paintings, but occasionally I want a more glossy finish and I will use a gloss varnish. Sometimes I want to use a matte that doesn't have any shine on it at all, and at the moment I've just got a matte spray varnish. I don't have it in the Atelier range, but you can get a matte in the Atelier as well. And just a word about if your painting has got a lot of texture, I would recommend using a spray varnish. So for instance, in a painting like this one, it's got lots of texture on it, so you can see that. So there's lots of paint texture on the edges of this painting, on these flowers. Now if I tried to varnish that with a brush, I'm going to have trouble with the varnish pooling in all this texture, and it's going to be really hard to smooth out, and there's a chance that I'll overwork it and wreck the picture. So if I'm at all worried about that, I will use a spray varnish for that instead. And this one's a matte spray varnish. So that makes no shine on the painting. So you can decide what type of varnish you want to use depending on the effect you would like. The other thing you can also do is, if I wanted to spray this one all over with a matte varnish, as long as your varnishes are all compatible, I could then go over and say, well, I want these flowers down here, say, to be glossy. Or I want these bumblebees here, if you can see the little bumblebee. If I want this bumblebee here to be glossy or something, I can actually go over in my last coat of varnish, or a third coat of varnish, and spot varnish areas, so I could make my little bumblebees or glossy, or I could make the flowers here glossy and leave these textured ones matte. The thing you can also do is change the direction of your brush strokes when you're varnishing in that last coat. So on this one, I've got these lines here that I wanted to emphasize with my varnish. So my varnish for my sky on my last coat went this way, and my sea went this way. But when I came to this bit, I followed the direction of my strokes here with my varnish to just emphasize that a little bit. And it's quite subtle, but it does make a little bit of a difference. So you can try out doing different things with your varnish. It doesn't have to just be a straight coat. You can experiment a little and see what looks good on different paintings and what effects you can get. So that's how I varnish my paintings. I prefer to use a liquid varnish when I can, but you don't have to do that. You could just spray varnish them if you want to. And what you'll find is when you varnish your paintings, it'll really bring out the colours that you've been using and put a good finish on it and a nice professional look to it. And then when they're all dry, you can put your hooks and string on the back all ready for hanging up. So that's all from me today. Hope you have a great day and happy painting, everyone.